Most men believe touch is everything: the hands, the mouth, the motion. But in over 10,000 anonymous interviews, women described something else entirely. They said the most arousing moment wasn't when a man undressed them. It was when he said something that made them feel seen, wanted, claimed. Not a script, not a cheesy line. Just a sentence, whispered with presence, that made her whole body soften. Science backs this up. For women, arousal often begins in the brain through language, attention, and timing. So if you've ever wondered how to turn her on without even laying a hand, you're about to learn what only the most attentive lovers ever discover. Because the real ignition point of her desire isn't in your hands, it's in your words. I'm Dr. Emily Hart. I'm a urologist and certified sex therapist who spent the last 15 years working with couples, especially men over 50, who want more intimacy, but aren't sure how to ask for it. And here's what I can tell you. Most men underestimate the power of their voice. In this video, I'll share 5 simple phrases that awaken a woman's deepest sense of desire, not through pressure or performance, but through presence. And more importantly, I'll show you exactly how to say them, so they don't just land in her ears. They land in her body. Let's begin. Let's talk about why this matters, especially after 50. Unlike men, most women don't have obvious signs of arousal. No visible reaction. No physical shift that says, "Yes, I want this." But that doesn't mean they're not feeling it. It just means the switch is wired differently. For women, desire often begins in the mind, not with pressure, not with touch, but with the feeling of being noticed, wanted, and safe. And the fastest way to create that feeling? Your voice. Your words carry more than sound. They carry presence, attention, intention. When you say, "You turn me on so much," with a slow breath and steady tone, her nervous system registers it like touch. It's warm, anchoring, arousing, especially in later life. When hormones shift and stress levels rise, women become even more responsive to emotional cues than physical ones. This is why so many long-term partners drift, not because attraction dies, but because the language of desire goes quiet. You don't need to be poetic. You don't need perfect lines. You just need to say what's true and say it out loud. Because silence, in intimacy, often feels like absence. And presence, spoken with honesty, is the most powerful aphrodisiac their island. Let's start with something simple. I love your... Now, I know that might sound basic, maybe even obvious, but it's the how and the when that make this line powerful. Women carry a lifetime of quiet insecurity about their bodies, some of it spoken, most of it silently absorbed. The curves they've been told to hide, the softness they've been taught to shrink, the changes that come with age that whisper, "Am I still wanted?" So when you say, "I love your skin," or "I love how your body feels against mine," in a moment of closeness when she's not expecting it, it doesn't just feel sweet. It feels disarming. Because for her, desire often begins in the spaces where she feels safe enough to be seen. But here's the key: be specific. Don't say, "You're hot." That's generic. That could be said to anyone. Say, "I love the way your thighs feel when you wrap them around me." Or, "I love how soft your stomach is against my hand." You're not praising perfection. You're naming presence. You're showing her that this version of her, the one right here, right now, is enough to stir something deep inside you. And that's where everything begins. But as powerful as that is, the next phrase hands her something even deeper: control over your desire itself. Let's move a little deeper. You turn me on so much. It's just 6 words. But when said with breath, presence, And timing, it shifts everything. Here's why. Most compliments focus on the woman, how she looks, how she moves, how she smells, and those things matter. But this phrase does something more powerful. It tells her how she affects you. It hands her the steering wheel of your desire. And for most women, that's not just sexy, that's electric. Because in a world that often expects women to perform, to please, to adapt, this line says, "You're already enough, exactly as you are. And I feel it." But how you say it, that's everything. Don't toss it off like a line. Don't mumble it halfway through a task. Wait until she's close when your breath could land softly on her neck. Let the words come on an exhale. Slow, steady, almost like a confession. "You turn me on so much." Feel the stillness after you say it. Let her absorb it. Because in that pause, her mind is registering a quiet truth. She's desired. Not for what she's doing, but for who she island. And when a woman feels that, something shifts in her body. She opens. But opening is just the beginning. The next step is what keeps her there, fully present, deeply connected. Now let's talk about a phrase that's often overlooked but can completely change the moment. Yes, stay there. 2 simple words, but when timed right, they become a green light for her nervous system. Here's what most men don't realize. Many women hesitate during intimacy. Even when something feels good, they pause, they second guess. Is this working? Should I change something? And that moment of doubt can pull her out of the experience, like a hand softly being lifted off a dial that was just warming up. That's why clear, affirmative feedback is so powerful. When you say yes, slowly, with breath in your voice, you're not just giving permission, you're giving direction. And more than that, you're giving reassurance. Yes, stay there. It tells her, you're doing something right. I feel it. Don't stop. And when a woman hears that without having to ask for it, without needing to guess, it unlocks something primal. She begins to trust the rhythm. She relaxes into the pleasure. She stops thinking and starts feeling. So use your yes as a signal. Say it with tone. Say it with presence. Let it rise from your chest, not your throat. Because sometimes the sexiest thing you can say is simply that you want more of what she's already giving. But if you want to unlock her deepest release, the kind most men never witness, the next phrase is the doorway. And when she trusts that rhythm, something else begins to stir beneath the surface. A deeper layer of pleasure one most men never reach is waiting right there. This next one is bold. I want to see you come. It's not about control. It's not about performance. It's about witnessing and letting her know that her pleasure isn't just allowed, it's wanted. Here's something most women never say out loud. They often hold back, even when everything feels right, even when their body is ready. There's a small part of them that hesitates. Why? Because many women were taught quietly but deeply that their pleasure was too much, too loud, too selfish. I once worked with a 62-year-old woman who had never let herself climax in front of her husband. The first time he whispered, "I want to see you come," she burst into tears before she even reached release. For the first time, she felt that her pleasure wasn't a burden, it was welcome. So when you say those 6 words with certainty in your voice and softness in your gaze, you give her something rare. Permission without pressure. It's your way of saying, this part of you is safe here, and I want to be here for all of it. Say it when you've found a rhythm that works for her. When you're tuned in through your hand, your mouth, or your eyes. Say it like a vow. And mean it. Because when a woman feels not just touched but witnessed, she doesn't just climax. She blooms. But what happens after that bloom is what decides whether the moment becomes unforgettable or just another memory. Let's talk about what happens after. Because how you close a moment is often what she remembers most. I loved watching you let go. It's just a sentence, but it's one that seals the entire experience with tenderness, reverence, and a kind of emotional afterglow that lingers. Here's the truth. A woman can feel incredibly vulnerable after climax. Her body has softened. Her breath is unguarded. Her heart is more open than usual. And in that openness, what you say or don't say can shape what the entire experience means. If you just roll away, silent, even if unintentionally, she may wonder, did that mean anything to him? But when you offer this line gently, without expectation, I loved watching you let go, you're doing something rare. You're witnessing her. You're honoring the trust it took for her to surrender. You're marking the moment as something shared, not just performed. And for many women, that's the difference between sex and intimacy. So, take a breath. Let your palm rest on her belly. Stay close. Say it softly. Let her know that her pleasure didn't just happen in a vacuum, it moved you. Because the final word she hears often becomes the feeling she keeps. But here's something even most therapists never tell men. Sometimes, it's not the words at all, it's something far more primal. Let me share something most men never hear even from their doctors. It's not just the words you say, it's how you breathe when you say them. Because in sexology, we've found that slow, rhythmic breathing is one of the most powerful nonverbal signals of safety and arousal. Here's the twist. A woman's nervous system responds to breath the same way it responds to touch. When your breathing is shallow and fast, it can feel rushed, abrasive, like there's pressure to perform. But when your breathing is deep, unhurried, steady, her body reads that as confidence, presence, grounded desire. You don't even have to touch her. Try this. The next time you're close, speak on the exhale. Not loud, just enough for your breath to land warmly against her skin. You smell so good. Or, you feel incredible. Say it like a sigh. Let it melt into her ear. Because when your voice rides your breath slow and low, it becomes more than a sentence. It becomes a signal. A rhythm she can relax into. A pace she can match. An invitation she can answer without words. So if you want to make her feel wanted before a single hand is laid, breathe like you already know her body. And when breath and words finally come together, they create something even deeper than pleasure. They create trust. Women don't need poetry. They need presence. They need a man who breathes with them, who feels them, who doesn't rush past the silence, but listens to what's inside it. You don't have to find perfect words. You just have to say the real ones gently, clearly, like you mean them. Because when a woman hears your truth, without pressure, without performance, something inside her relaxes. Not just her body, but the part of her that's always braced for disappointment. Say what you see. Say what you feel. I love the way your shoulders soften when I touch you. Or, I've missed you, right here. These aren't lines, they're presence. And when spoken with breath and stillness, they become a quiet invitation, an atmosphere of trust. That's what deepens pleasure. Not friction, not force, but feeling. That's what makes her feel chosen, wanted, safe enough to let go. So tonight, if you remember anything, remember this. She doesn't need you to impress her. She needs you to meet her, slowly, honestly, right where she island. If this resonated with you even a little, consider subscribing. Each week, I share subtle but powerful ways for men over 50 to feel more confident, more connected, and more desirable without force, without noise. Just presence, just timing, just you at your most real. And I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 5 phrases feels most natural to you, or which one would you like to try first? Share it below. Your story might help another man feel less alone.